This isn't just another podcast. It's a movement, a global wave of women from Nairobi to Nashville, Seoul to Sao Paulo, stepping out of the shadows and into the spotlight. Women who are ready to be seen, to be heard, to be unmuted. I'm Anjuli Marshall, an award-winning ABC and NBC journalist and speaker, turned business strategist, coach, and mom. My mission? To amplify the voices of women who were never meant to stay silent. One woman, one voice, one story at a time. So go ahead, put on your comfy pants, grab a coffee, and maybe the remote. Are you ready to press the button? Unmuted starts right now.
Hey, and welcome back to Unmuted. I'm your host, Anjuli Marshall, and this is where we amplify the stories of women who are rewriting the rules of success. They are refusing to stay silent. Women who lead with wisdom, courage, and a global perspective. And today's guest is no different. Her name is Sara Celotto, and she's a fractional COO, a business strategist, a founder of the Vision Catalyst, and someone who grew up believing that the safe path was the one that stayed steady. It wasn't until life forced her to rebuild from the ground up that she learned that real stability is betting on yourself. Amen to that. Welcome, my friend. Sara, welcome to the show. We became fast friends already. I love so much about you. Oh, of course. Oh my gosh. I'm so happy that you're here. I love so much about your story. And so I want to dive into your story. They say that anything good comes from this place of like hardship or struggle. And I just really believe that. I believe that in order to have something good, you got to fight for it sometimes, you know? So take me through your fight. Take me through where you've been and what brought you here.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, my fight starts from my childhood. I was raised by a single mother who had cancer. She was a business owner, struggled with stage 4 cancer, and we had no family around, and I was the oldest child. So really early on, I was, very involved. I was put into a parentified role where I really had to help with my brother, especially because we had no support around. And I saw how unstable it was, especially if you don't figure it out in business and, you struggle if you don't have your operations, if money is good some months and bad other months. So I grew up with this assumption that being a business owner was the most unstable thing. And it was just something that I never really wanted to get into because I knew I wanted to be a mom and I knew I wanted to work. I didn't exactly know what that was going to look like. I thought maybe I wanted to go to law school. But I knew that I also didn't want to have to worry to pay my mortgage. I knew I wanted to have to, raise kids and have a really good job, be really successful. But I didn't want to stress about things that you should just are guaranteed, if you're putting in all the hours that I saw my mom putting in. So I had that assumption for so many years of my life. And up until recently, I realized that it really held me back.
Wow. Okay. So, wow. It held you back. What exactly is it? The mentality, the thought?
Mentality that I shouldn't bet on myself, honestly, and that I was always, for a decade, I was betting on other people and what other people were doing while I knew what I was bringing to the table and what I was helping build. But I never felt like I had the confidence or the platform or what to say to bet on myself to do what I needed to do until life came for me. And I unexpectedly lost my job after a decade. And it was, I felt blindsided from it. And I was forced with my back against the wall to figure it out. And, what compounded the stress was that I had to get a car the day after I lost my job because I had a lease that came up and I had another lease that was coming up 2 months after that. So I have been figuring it out for the past year and a half. But it's been such an incredible journey. And now when I talk about it with everybody, I tell them that I had these notions for so long and I was wrong. And anybody who thinks so rigidly about one way or the other, like really should open their mind up and, expose themselves, talk to more people and maybe like challenge these beliefs that they've, had that they created for themselves. There was a lot of them that I've had that I've been rewriting for the past year and a half now. And every time, I see something differently, it's funny. I mean, one of the funniest revelations I've had recently is that I never wanted to be in my mom's business. I didn't think I did, but every day I'm selling more and more of what she did. My brother owns that business now, and I am constantly trying to find clients for that business, and I'm constantly talking about it. So it is funny how full circle life can come when you're open to it, though. Like, you have to really be open to it mentally, emotionally, and physically.
Tell me about who your mom was.
So my mom was an incredible person. She was such a strong person. She was somebody who, battling stage 4 cancer, no family around, and she would still show up for us. She would bring us to Six Flags every weekend. She was always working. She would be in the hospital with, going through all these treatments, and still had her computer because she knew she had to support me and my brother. She knew she couldn't stop. And she was like that until the day she died. And there were so many people around her like that could not operate like that. And even, one of the craziest stories, which I just came up the other day too, is my house. I was looking for a house for a year, and it was really hard to find the house that I wanted in the neighborhood I wanted, with like good family, air sidewalks and all of that. But I found it, and it kind of like, I get the sign that it reminded me of my mom. It had pink shutters, pink trees, and it reminded me of breast cancer, and her favorite color was pink. But forward, so I buy the house, and fast forward, I find out that the only owner of this house was, a husband and wife couple, and the husband had cancer, and he was dying of cancer. And when he was dying of cancer, a mutual connection connected my mom to him, because my mom was such an advocate for like living with cancer and how to be in a better way, that she spoke to him and gave him like words of encouragement of how to live with cancer. And then fast forward even further, when I got pregnant with my kids, because I found that out before I got pregnant with my kids. I got pregnant with twins unexpectedly, and that was crazy because I always wanted twins. But I then found out that the owners of this house had twins in this house as well.
What?
Yep. And then fast forward a little bit further, one of the children of this family that lived in this house for 40 years is like next door neighbors to my brother-in-law, who lives in a completely different town.
Wow, Sara. Wow.
So it's like, I don't know what I believe, but it's hard to ignore those signs. And even the twin thing. I was telling you earlier, I always wanted twins. I never thought I'd have them. I have identical twins. It's not a genetic thing when they're identical. So they say it's more of a fraternal twin thing. But when I unexpectedly got pregnant with them, it was hard to not think that maybe my mom sent them. Maybe it was a sign, sign from above.
Girl, the Lord is watching you. He's got his hand all over you and your family. I did not expect that. Because you've told me a bit about your story, but you are so full of surprises. So many things. Okay. So much to unpack here. So you were released from your position, your job. You'd been there for 10 years.
Yep. It had transitioned a little bit in the meantime there, because there was a partnership dissolution. I was working with lawyers, but I was with the one lawyer that I had been with for a decade for that entire time, even through all that transition. And I unexpectedly lost my job, and it was like the most shocking, devastating experience of my life, even though I lost my mom, because I knew my mom was dying for a decade. I knew how bad the cancer had gotten. I was her primary caregiver towards the end. I had enough time to like deal with that. It was a lot more shocking for me when I went into work one day and I unexpectedly was told this was the end of it. And I felt like I let my entire family down. And then I didn't know what I was going to do, going like with the fact that I needed to get a car or anything going forward with that. So it was very challenging, especially because I hadn't been in the labor market for a decade. Yeah. And at that point, I didn't even know if my resume made sense. I had to update my resume. I didn't even know what to say there. I didn't even know if I wanted to work in the legal industry anymore. I really wasn't sure what I wanted to do. And I wasn't at the place where I really wanted to make a change. I knew that I needed to leave that environment. I knew it wasn't good, but I was thinking about having another kid. And as a mom, like it's not, when you have a stable job that you've been with for a decade and you get the flexibility to I bring my kids to survival swim classes once a week where I have to, I had to show up a little late to work, but it didn't matter because I had worked there for a decade and they knew what I was going to do when I got there and I would always compensate for it. I was trying to figure out as a working mom, how am I going to make all this work? Because there are just some things that I don't want to compromise and I want to still do with my kids. And am I going to be looking for this new job or not? But one of the best lessons that somebody told me early on when all this happened was regardless of what I'd be doing, I was going to be having to tap into the hidden job market. And that was something that I didn't even know about up until then because I was never needing to tap into it.
So let's talk about the hidden job market. What have you learned so far?
Well, the hidden job market is really anything that you need where people will create something for you. So whether it's a job or it could be a client of yours, but it's networking to find what might come next, not going the traditional route of,
Sure.
going on to Indeed or LinkedIn and applying to things. Because I mean, I've seen it and I'm sure you've seen it all over LinkedIn. I talked to a lot of people. It's hard right now to get a job.
It is.
People are really struggling. I mean, I know people that are like look for years and years and years and they can't get called, they can't get hired, or they'll go 5 interviews deep and then they go with somebody else or whatever the case may be. I mean, it's a very challenging environment we're currently in. So I would definitely recommend that everybody just start talking to people and making relationships, because the one thing that this taught me is that your network is your net worth. And I knew that, but I never appreciated that until I really needed to be in a position where I needed to appreciate it, because up until that moment, my network was, the people that I was for my employers. So when all this transition happened, I wasn't really sure who my network was anymore and if I could even talk to them.
How have you changed since the moment that you were released from that position? I'm sure panic set in, a lot of different emotions over the months that you've had to like really register what was going on. How have you changed in that time?
I have been putting myself out there more than I ever have. I mean, I live in Connecticut. I go to New York almost weekly now to go to different in-person networking events. I'm constantly adding people on LinkedIn and messaging them and having conversations with them. When all of this started, I had 200 connections on LinkedIn. I had had a profile for a decade. But since this happened, I now have over 5,000 connections. And a lot of them are like very close friends. And this has just been since last February. So a year and a half now at this point, of me just being very intentional about reaching out to people, connecting with them, and trying to really understand their story and just being more, curious. I was definitely stuck in a hamster wheel of doing the same thing over and over again, doing, what I was doing for a decade. So it's been really nice to learn all different things, try new things, and lead with curiosity, honestly.
That's great. Lead with curiosity. Curiosity is something that I think is it's a hidden superpower for a lot of moms. A lot of women, yes, but also I really believe for a lot of moms, because in order for us to parent well, we have to be curious about what our kids are doing.
And what other people are doing too, because like just what I always say, like there is no perfect way to anything. And it's funny that I even say that now, because I was such a perfectionist. I had such paralysis by analysis. It would be so hard for me to like make a decision, move forward. But along the way, I realized there's no perfect way to do anything, which I really knew. And my perfect is not the same as your perfect.
Right.
And there's also a million ways to get to the same result. So same, and that's so true in parenting. Like there's so many ways to do everything that, being open to like what somebody else is doing, what you're doing, and maybe meeting somewhere in the middle to find something that really works for you and your children or you and your life.
Yeah, that's really great. So, that the job market is definitely different now. There's a lot of women who are just like, I think there's this tension, I think for a lot of women too, where yes, you're searching for work, the W-2, right? But then there's also this dream that's in there. This dream is just like, it gnaws at you. It wakes you up at night. I really want to do this, but I can't because I shouldn't because. What do you say to women who are in that strange but really tough tension of life where they could just go and apply for, and then maybe they are applying for a different work, but there's still that dream?
I say do both. I read something the other day that said it's almost I can't even think of the word right now, but it's not safe to just bet on one thing anymore, to just have a job and bet on it, because the labor market is so unstable right now. You might have the most stable job, but there's a million reasons why you might lose that. Maybe they get acquired and maybe there are layoffs. Maybe they're going to be implementing AI and now they're minimizing labor. Like there are so many things, and I see it every single day, these mass layoffs of these huge corporations and founding employees who have been there for a decade, who really, were monumental. There is no loyalty anymore at all. Like that's why I'm so determined to bet on myself and to keep building my own foundation. And when I think about my foundation, and I do operations and I do, structure and formation, I think about foundation as far as all that goes, but really the core of my foundation is relationships.
That's great. I want to talk about what it is that you're doing for your clients, for your business. You said something earlier. You said, it's so interesting now I'm doing my mom's job. I'm doing what she did. So Take me through that. Like, spell that out. What does that look like?
It's a piece of what I do. So I do a lot of different things as a fractional COO. I really like to meet people where they are, understand, what kind of help they need, and see how I can help them. Given the nature that I'm fractional, so I'm part-time, it's going to be limited in scope to where they're at and what they need. Because I'm not coming in as a full-time COO. But what my mom did was anything with your logo, apparel, branded, promotional products. So anything to really get yourself out there in the physical world. And my brother still owns that business, and it's always gone hand in hand with the work I've done. I've always done it, for any job I've had, we've always gone through my family's business. But now I find myself, especially because I work with a lot of creators and talent managers and agencies in the marketing space, I'm really in this like creator economy space right now. I'm finding a lot more of a need for these types of relationships to bring, online to in real life and bridge that gap. And I have so many different solutions to help people with that.
Got it. Okay. So asset protection. And you haven't said the word yet, but this is legacy. Like this is big time. Like legacy is what you do. Those are big things that I would say define who you are and what you're doing. What do you wish, as a fractional COO, what do you wish every founder or small business owner would understand about business structure?
I just getting the right people in place is so important. Thinking you can do everything yourself without, and maybe it's because you can't afford it. Like there's so many different reasons why people don't have the right things in place, but like really just stopping and talking to the right people and seeing where you can get that information. There's so much out there now with AI, so many people that are willing to talk to you on LinkedIn. I mean, anybody wants to reach out to me, I'll always talk to them and give them my advice. But like my mom did a lot of this on her own. And even when I was looking for my job, just to circle back to legacy and asset protection. So when I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with my life, and this also wraps into being a mom, I thought I wanted to go to law school, but I couldn't figure out how I would take on 6 figures of debt and start a family when I wanted to start a family. I always knew in my head that I wanted to be like before I turned 30, have kids, because I felt like, and this was another preconceived notion in my head that was wrong, but I felt like my mom started too late. And I felt like that's why she wasn't there to see my kids, because she was in her mid to late 30s when she had her kids. And there was something with that timing in my head as I was growing up that I felt like maybe if she started a little bit earlier, she would have been able to see her grandkids. And that was something that I always wanted. So I couldn't figure out that math, because I do think the legal industry is very tough for women. I don't like, it just doesn't, you go and you take out all this debt for your undergrad, then you go to law school, you take out 6 figures of debt. Then you need to you're making pennies because you're an associate attorney trying to figure it. You're passing the bar first. Then you're an associate attorney trying to figure it out, working all these crazy hours. Like it's just not really made the traditional legal world for a woman who wants to be a mom. And I see it all the time. I see so many women that just stop practicing law because it's, around the time that they have kids, because they can't. Like it's really hard to balance all of that. But because I was so insecure about finances and I had a lot of financial anxiety because of the way that I was raised and what I saw with my parents, I just couldn't fathom that. So I decided when I graduated my bachelor's that I was just going to start applying to every law firm that I could find in my area. And I would get my foot in the door and see what I thought. And I applied everywhere. It was 2014. Nobody would call me back because I had no experience. And it was a very tough labor market back then too. And, nobody wanted to bet on me. So I was so desperate. I was on Craigslist of all places. And I love to say that because I am very inventive and I think outside the box. And I think everybody should think outside the box. So I was on Craigslist and I found a job posting in my hometown, and I would have driven an hour away just to get the experience in a law firm. But I saw this job posting in my hometown to work with an estate planning attorney, doing estate planning, business planning, real estate, and probate. And at that point, I kind of knew what that was because I was working in a bank for 4 years. So like I was familiar with it, but I didn't really get it until I went to this meeting. And I go to this meeting and he's telling me, all about, wills, trusts, estate plans. And at this point, I knew my mom still had a minor at home. I wasn't a minor anymore. She had no estate plan because she felt like she couldn't afford one, and she was dying of cancer. So he said to me, regardless of where this goes, like, I'm going to give your mom a free estate plan because that's what she needs. And like, I just think anybody who's like trying to figure it out, like they really need to think practically about things like that, like getting an estate plan in place, making sure your family is protected, your business is protected. If you have a business, getting all the legal documents in place, an operating agreement. If you have a partner, a buy-sell agreement, making sure you're doing your bookkeeping, because that's something I see a lot with the creator space. Like a lot of creators are starting businesses and they don't even realize what they're doing. They don't know anything about business ownership. So maybe they're not bookkeeping and they, they're not paying their quarterly taxes. So they're going to get penalties and fees. There's just a lot of like structural foundation stuff that I really help people with, because it is so important and it really is the legacy that you're leaving. And, with everything my mom did, like that is something we're still carrying on. And that's actually something I posted about today. Like, I don't know if your legacy is all of what you leave behind. It's kind of what gets carried forward because
forward.
Yeah. And, that's me and my brother. We're really trying to carry my mom's business because our entire life, I always viewed that business as a baby of our family, and I don't know if that's healthy or not healthy. I know people go back and forth with that, but it was so integrated into our everyday life. Like I grew up going to networking events with my mom. She was a single mom. So we would go in the mornings and the evenings, on the weekends. Like I always saw her networking and talking to people, which is one of the greatest skills I think anybody can give to their kids, because you can use that in so many different ways. And I don't think enough people can appreciate that. But whether or not you're looking for a client or your next job, knowing how to network and talk to people is so important. Even if you're looking for a house, I mean, the housing market right now is so hard, but if you know how to talk to people and build relationships, then you might know of that house before anybody else does.
Yeah, that's great. So many nuggets of wisdom here. You have grown as, how could you not, as a person, as a daughter, as a sister, as a mom, as a business owner. What is next? First, what's next for the business? And when I say what's next, like, what is that dream? What does that look like? And then the next part is, what's next for you? What is the next step? Whether it's, something personal or something with the business.
I'm still figuring it out. And honestly, I think that's okay. This is another thing I talk about a lot. I think people get so in their head. And because I was such a perfectionist, I was the same way, where you need to figure out what you want to do for the rest of your life. Yeah. And I just think there's so much pressure there. And especially because I've lived life and I've seen my mom die, like you never know what tomorrow may hold. I always tell people, I just want to know I want to feel what I'm doing today is good and maybe what direction I want to move in tomorrow. And that's really where I'm at right now, especially because my kids are still so young. And, I don't know if maybe one day I'll have another kid, because the way I was building my business last year wasn't as scalable as I wanted it to be, is what I realized. So I've been pivoting and I'm learning in real time, like what it is that I want to sell, what it is that I want to do, where, I can take on many more clients and really help them, because the nature of what I do, it can be very service-based and very, very hard to delegate to other people if I'm executing and I'm doing different things like handling all the finances and I'm doing distributions to people and maybe I'm doing bookkeeping. So finding that line and that balance in between being more of a strategist and less of an executor and getting the people underneath me to help execute is really where I'm at. But I'm learning in real time and I'm talking about it in real time, because I think a lot of people in business are and I always say too, like what you do today might work for today, but like what if your business gets a lot more clients tomorrow? Then everything is going to change tomorrow, and the way that looks and the way you operate within it is going to change tomorrow. So I'm just staying open to all the things that are coming my way, and finding different ways that I can really help people. But at the end of the day, I always tell people I'm really not selling anything. I really just want to help. I really just want to meet people. And I'm just so curious.
I love that. I love that so much. So Sara, women are going to be watching this in so many different seasons of their lives, right? Some who are brand new moms, some who have children in college, or some who are not moms. They're women who are just in a different season of their careers, or they want to do something different, or there's just like this gnawing thing in the back of their minds, or there's this dream in their heart and they just don't really know what to do next. What is something tangible that you can leave them with if they're just feeling like a little bit of, I feel a little down. I wish I knew the next steps. I wish I had this. I wish I had that. What's your advice to them? How do they move forward and get out of whatever rut they're in?
just do something. Sometimes the best things come when you're not comfortable, when it doesn't feel right, when you don't know if you want to go, but nothing will ever happen if you make no moves. And that's the one thing that I've done for the past year and a half is I get up every single day and I just put one foot in front of the other. I don't always know what direction I'm walking in, but I just keep moving.
That's great. Thank you so much for sharing your story. This has been amazing. I know it's going to be good when you and I were talking for like almost 10 minutes about just like the family, the kids, all this stuff. And I'm like, I should be recording this. Like, what are we doing? We should just let's just
we can talk about the crazy kids too. And actually one of the books that I read, so I've been doing a lot of podcasts and books, and I would highly recommend that to people. And honestly, also anybody who's not sure what to do and how to move, I would really recommend just talking to people. When I wasn't sure what to do, the first thing I actually did was I went to Facebook and I went to this group that's really active. It's called the Working Moms of Peloton. Shout out to that group. It's so great. These women are so helpful. And I had, I wrote in it that I had just lost my job. I don't know what to do. I don't know where to turn. I know I need to network and build my relationships. Will anybody connect with me? And all these people offered to hop on calls with me. And I got on all these different calls, and it just really helped me like shape where my head was at. But then also since then, I've done so many like audiobooks, so many podcasts, and that too has helped. And a book that I tell everybody who's contemplating business ownership or a job to listen to, which they should redo, and maybe you can help do this, is Rich Dad, Poor Dad, because we should probably have Rich Mom, Poor Mom. But, I never read that. I had heard of it forever. And I listened to it last year and I was like, wow, maybe if somebody showed me this in high school, I wouldn't have been so worried my entire life.
Wow. You were worried your entire life.
And I mean, I have a lot of anxiety, and I won't pretend like I don't. I think a lot of people do, especially in this day and age, but I definitely had a lot of financial, anxiety. And I had a lot of like just stability anxiety. Like I just knew I wanted to have a stable life because I felt like for so much of my life, it was unstable. I mean, even before my mom was dealing with cancer, my brother had a really bad eye accident when he was younger. So I spent a lot of my childhood in hospitals, traveling to go to different medical procedures. It was very turbulent. And especially because my parents were divorced. So there was a lot of that. When I was younger, none of my friends had divorced parents. I was like the only one. So there was just a lot of that instability, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, when there is instability, I think it's so important for us to focus on even just one point of stability. As I know that can look so different for so many of us, but then also not to even we don't always have to have stability. Sometimes stability is not a good thing. We need to, like you said, bet on ourselves, and it doesn't have to look the way that we think it's supposed to look. And most of the time, it just doesn't work out that way. I mean, life is an adventure. I don't want life without an adventure. I just can't. I don't want that. And I don't want that for my kids. So I'm just, overwhelmed by your story. And you're so gracious to share your story, but the strength that comes from you. Thank you for sharing this with a lot of women. Betting on yourself, you can't beat it.
No. And that, I'm constantly, when I'm talking to people, they're constantly trying to offer me jobs. I'm like, well, I love it. Like, I just know that I need to keep betting on myself. And I just feel so convicted in that belief right now that, I have to keep doing that. And, maybe if I were to be brought in like partner level to help people, like I would do that. But I'm just so convicted in the belief that I need to keep betting on myself and the foundation that I'm building, that I can't even go down that path right now. And it's just so funny that I feel so rigidly about that, because I was so on the opposite side of the coin for my entire life. So even the fact that I feel so strongly about that, and I feel like now, even if I'm still trying to figure it out, I finally have the room to breathe, because I've been working since I was 16. I never had, a moment where I took off. Even when I had my twins, I, was on maternity leave, but I went right back to work. Like I have just been working right through. Even when my mom passed away, I worked right through. And this period of time where, I am able to figure this out, I thank my husband, because I would not be able to do this without him and his stability with the benefits and all that. Because that was something that was really hard growing up. Like my mom with cancer, when it was really hard to get insurance when you were having a business, like that was very challenging to see. So there are some like foundational elements that make it a little bit easier for me to take this risk. But I feel blessed that I can right now. And, anybody who, even if you're not in that place where you have maybe a spouse with great benefits to give you that freedom, still do something on the side, because you never know what's going to happen. I mean, you need to build relationships like that. When I think about my kids and what I need to teach them, it's networking. It's, how to network, how to talk to people, how to build relationships. It's how to have a growth mindset, because learning never stops. The world is always going to be changing around you. And it's how to be resilient, how to get back up when you're knocked down, because that is guaranteed. You will get knocked down.
You will, every time. And you have constantly talked about getting back up. So I'm grateful that you did, because we wouldn't be here if you hadn't. So do you remember I told you we're going to play a game?
Yes.
Are you ready?
I am.
It's so good, Sarah. Okay. It's called Hot Mic.
Okay.
15 rapid fire questions, completely random, but strategic. The only rule is that you cannot think too long about the answer. You have to say whatever comes to mind first. Okay. You're like, oh, yeah. No. All right, here we go. You ready for this? You got this, girl. You got this. Number 1, favorite system or structure that helps your business brain calm.
System or structure. Having a good CRM where everything just automatically gets uploaded without me having to do the manual work.
Yes. What's your go-to mantra when the pressure's on?
Just keep moving anyway.
Yeah, I like that. One organizational tool you cannot live without.
Well, my AI note taker has now become my best friend besides ChatGPT. I mean, hang on. I really need to say ChatGPT. I talk to it all day, every day. And if people aren't talking to it, that's really the key to unlock it, because now it really knows me. But also the men in my life think I'm a little crazy because I'm talking to my robot all the time.
My son knows my ChatGPT. Her name is Kathy. And he's like, Mommy, let's ask Kathy some questions. Let's do it, buddy. Let's do it. What's the most thoughtful or surprising gift that you've ever created for a client?
One time I was gifting this guy, my boss at the time, and he has everything. I didn't really know what to get him, but he was really into beer. So I had my cousin go to all these different breweries and get all these different beers that I could, like craft beers that I could put in a basket. And we had a very beautiful basket made that was, from us physically going out there and getting beers from different breweries.
That's great. Did you know that World Market has that?
Well, now they do. This was not like, I don't know if they had that like 8 years ago, but maybe.
Yeah, it was probably 10 years ago when I discovered it. It's they have different countries, and there's craft beers from different countries in a big old 12 pack. It was.
I'm gonna have to look into that. But I think the key to a gift, because I do corporate gifting for people, is really knowing who you're gifting to and making it really personal and custom to what they want, when they want, and where they're at in life.
Absolutely. Yep. The ultimate NYC working snack: sweet, salty, or both? Both. Which skill from your legal background still serves you today as COO?
All of them. I draw on them all the time, especially because of what I did. I mean, I was doing business law, estate planning. We were focused on asset protection and succession planning. I come in, I've done employment contracts, I formed businesses. I did real estate law. All of that I draw on still to that today. I'm also a licensed real estate agent with a global brokerage. So I can really help people across the world who, and I have the experience doing real estate law to really give them the advice of who to talk to and what makes sense.
That's great. How long did you work at the law firm?
10 years.
That's amazing, girl. That's amazing.
Okay. And I don't know if I said this before, but when I learned it was me and the attorney, I was his first employee, and I built that firm to 40 within 8 years. We had multiple offices and I was managing all of it, but I taught myself how to do all the different practice areas and do all the legal work. I was the first paralegal. And then as we brought on staff, I trained and managed every attorney, every law clerk, every paralegal, every legal assistant. And I learned how to figure it out. And honestly, that's probably the best skill I learned, was how to cut through the red tape and really how to figure things out and how to get to the answers, because I was also learning how to do different legal things in different states too. So once you have that skill of how to figure that out, it can be applied in so many different ways.
I wish I could throw my shoe at you right now. Insane. You have done so many amazing things. Oh my word. Okay. Best shortcut or efficiency hack that every founder should know?
If you're not leaning into AI, like you need to, that is going to be the best shortcut. Like I am very leaned into 2 areas right now, many areas, because I like a lot of things apparently, but AI and the creator space. I think that the entire world is funneling to the creator space, digital marketing, this new world of entertainment. Traditional entertainment is coming here, marketing, PR, really anything if you want to get out there and be seen and create that trust and credibility. But also AI. I mean, you cannot ignore it. And it's so funny because I started in the legal space and now I'm working with creators. And I always talk about how I come from like one of the oldest industries and now I'm working within the newest industry and seeing that divide. But lawyer, on both sides, they kind of talk about how AI is taboo almost, and they're not sure if they should use it. But it's not going anywhere. You can't even avoid it anymore. It's in every single platform you're using. And soon it's going to be just so integrated in our daily life that, you really can't avoid it. So if you're not leaning into it, you're going to be left behind, because that like AI is the future.
That's true. And we're living it right now.
We're living it right now. So, I mean, and if you're not using an AI note taker, use an AI note taker. And what I do is I upload all of my calls, as long as there's nothing confidential in there, to my ChatGPT, because it's really getting to know me, my voice, how I talk, how I help people. And I'm using it to train me, because that's the best way to use AI. It's how it works with you, how well it knows you, how well it can support you. And if you're not giving it all that context, it's going to be hard. But also, I use ChatGPT right now because it's like, and I use a lot of different ones, but ChatGPT is my favorite. But tomorrow, like there might be another one that's completely beating it. I mean, Meta has so much money right now going into AI. They might have some platform that's even better to use soon. So just finding ways where you can like download that information and get it to any new AI you're using so you can speed up them getting to know you will make your future more efficient.
That is working smarter, not harder.
Yes.
That's great. One question every founder should ask themselves before scaling.
What do you really want?
That's good.
Because a lot of I talk too much, but because I've scaled already, like a 40-person team, and the lawyer now who has his own firm, it's very boutique, and he only has 3 employees, and he says he would never do it like that again, because with having a lot of employees and scaling that way comes a lot of other things you have to manage versus having like a very boutique firm where, high level, less staff. So really think about what you want, where you want your energy to go, what you want to manage. Do you want to manage a large team? Do you want to, be in partnership with other people, maybe as a referral network, and, you're sending things that way and you're monetizing that way? There's so many ways to scale, but really slow down and think about what it is that you want.
I always tell my clients, start with the end in mind.
Yeah.
You start at the very end. What is it that you want? Do you want to sell this at some point in time, or are you wanting to earn because of your lifestyle? Do you want a lifestyle, or do you want to just sell this later down the road? You got to start with the end in mind. I love that. Okay. So what do you say to yourself when you want to quit, but you won't?
Just keep going anyway. My husband said it to me too. There was this one time where I didn't want to go to a networking event, and he goes, sometimes the best things happen when you don't want to do it.
So true. That is wisdom. That man brought wisdom to you. Did you go?
He did. I went. It was a good event too. So I never regret it when I go. So just go anyway.
Just go anyway. The best piece of a business advice that your mother or a mother figure ever gave you?
I think it was just honestly from what I saw. Like she never, we never necessarily spoke directly about business advice. But just seeing her put herself out there all the time, network, talk to people, think creatively about how to find leads. Like she would, obviously go through all the phone books, get all the different like magazines to call different departments. But one of the things that I always remember her doing is leading with curiosity. We would be driving down the highway, and if she saw a corporation on a building that she didn't know, she would write it down and start looking it up and figuring out how to get in. So just doing that and always being curious and always trying to think of creative ways to get in.
Sounds like an amazing woman. A quiet win from this year that nobody saw, but it meant everything.
I don't know, because I'm trying to build in public right now. So I'm putting a lot of things out there, and I'm not that private. One of my biggest wins that was not private, I just posted it yesterday, is the past month or 2 days ago, I've been focused on PR. And it's funny because I have never done anything with PR. A couple months ago, I didn't even really know what PR people did, because every PR person I talked to did something slightly different. So I was trying to figure out where the lines were in marketing and PR and like who does what. so much so that I paid to go to a PR conference to learn this. And that was one of the questions they asked there is, what do PR people do? Because there is a lot of gray space there. So I've been kind of marinating on this idea of PR and like, networking with a lot of people in the space. But last month I decided to start doing PR for myself and really pitching myself. And, besides this amazing podcast that I'm on right now too, I got picked up in Forbes recently. I got as a quote in Forbes. So I'm like, as in my first month of really trying to get PR.
You are amazing. Well done, girl. Well done. I'm almost done. I have 2 more questions. Dream brand or a leader that you love to partner with at the Vision Catalyst?
Oh, there's so many. Don't make me call them out. There's so many, like any of these like really like cool like business creators on LinkedIn. I just love because like I was raised by a strong business like woman, and I love I would love to work with a mom creator too who's building a business. But I'm right now very much on LinkedIn, so maybe I'm not consuming so much of their content anymore. And there's this girl Laura Acosta who I think is so incredible on LinkedIn. There's Sara Celotto, she's really incredible on LinkedIn. A lot of these like B2B creators on LinkedIn, but I would also love to help a mom creator figuring it out too on Instagram. I just spend more of my time these days on LinkedIn.
Yeah, that's it. It's a good place to be. What's your secret sauce as a fractional COO that most people don't know?
My secret sauce. I'm they probably know this, but like I just care so much and I'm just so determined to figure anything out. And just to get into the room and to talk to people that I think is the secret sauce.
Yeah. That's also your legacy.
I care to a fault almost, but I also think that it's one of the best skills that when I'm hiring, because I've hired for a decade, that's what I look for. It's people who care. You can't make somebody care. And if they don't care, they're not going to do a good job. And the fault about me is I care too much almost about everything. So
caring is something that you can't teach people.
Yeah.
You can teach tactics. You can teach logistics. You cannot teach character. And you have character, Mama. Thank you for being on our show. Thank you for sharing your story. Oh my gosh. I could talk to you all day. I hope that this is not the last time that we talk. I would love to stay in touch.
Definitely.
Tell people at home. What'd you say?
I'm going to keep you to that.
Yes, please. I want to do that. Tell people at home how they can support you, they can follow you and find you.
Follow me on LinkedIn or on Instagram. Also, if anybody is in the New York area, I curate a Substack of events in New York City for creator economy, marketing, PR people looking to get out in real life, because I really think there's some magic from bridging online to in real life and really getting off the screen and getting in person and bringing that energy. That's something that I'm trying to figure out online, is how to bring my energy to online, because I know when I'm in person, I can show up as me and I'm happy. And, and right here where I feel really comfortable, this is really easy. I'm currently trying to put myself out there on video, doing it myself. It's a lot harder. But, and I have a lot of one-on-ones. I've probably had over 1,000 one-on-ones in the past year, just cold reaching out to people, but it's still so different when you get to actually meet somebody in person.
Yeah, it's definitely different. And sometimes it's more impactful really when you're there seeing eye to eye.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And then when you see those same people over and over again, 'cause you're going to similar events, that's really, it's brand awareness. That's really where they get to know you, and then they associate that with you. And again, I said, I don't really sell because I really want brand awareness. I want them to know who I am. So if and when they have a need, they know they can call me and I'm here to help them.
That's great. If this episode spoke to you at home, if Sara's story really resonated with you, go find her on all the socials. Support her, reach out, hire her, whatever. Let's just get some camaraderie going and support her business, because this is a woman I want to make sure we keep an eye on for sure. Sara, thank you. Thank you for sharing your story. And you are now part of the Unmuted family. So welcome.
I love it.
And thank you guys for watching at home. I don't even know what to say, because I'm just I could continue our conversation forever, but we'll continue it offline. Thank you guys for watching. Thank you again, Sara, for being here. And we'll see you next time on Unmuted. Bye.
Bye.
What you just heard wasn't just a story. It was a spark, A glimpse into the heart of a woman living for purpose, and a reminder that when one woman shares, another woman wakes up to what's possible. These aren't just conversations, they're catalysts. I'm your host, Anjali Marshall, and this is the Unmuted Podcast, where voices rise, stories connect, and purpose finds its volume. Until next time, friends, stay unmuted.